Round two.
Okay.
So far, no freezing or whatever. We had some technical stuff to start this off. So thanks for being on again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Return guest. We go 15 minutes and then we come back around. All right, so we'll fill everybody in. You live in New York and you do some holistic stuff, right?
I do. I live in New York. New York City-based yoga teacher, holistic health coach is my role right now that I'm stepping into.
Yeah, and I guess explain for everybody again for the second time how that all works, like the details of being a holistic health coach, or what you were explaining to me before we started this was it's really mental health.
A lot of it is mental health. So I pull a lot of that into it. I also take a lot of different parts of spirituality and Eastern medicine, yoga, different principles that I feel have really allowed a way for us to heal, because it's not, and what I offer and what I help you work through, it's not that there is the way, but it's one way. And so a lot of it is either through meditation, really self-discovery. There's some yoga, there's some homework that I give you, even affirmations, and a lot of breath work too is really into it. So knowing what I know about astrology, which is a big thing, I pull that into it. What do I know about psychology, and what I know about different holistic practices like yoga and meditation and breath work, writing prompts, that kind of stuff, to allow people to go below the surface and actually and to be able to really drop in on who they are, where they are, what they want, and where they want to go.
The breath work is interesting to me. It's fascinating because so many people across the board have started more and more using breath work, from athletes to just mental stuff, and a lot of the things that I look at in competition or in anything that's high stress, just taking a breath in between 4 to 7 seconds, holding it for 4 to 7, and letting it out for 4 to 7 or 10. It calms your fight or flight down.
It does. And just being able to breathe. And what I observe too is most of us don't know how to breathe. And when I teach my classes, I encourage everyone to notice if they're breathing into their sternum or into their belly. But when you breathe into your belly, into your diaphragm, you're able to access your parasympathetic nervous system. You're able to actually go deeper into the lungs, and it releases your lower back. It releases actually tension in your body. And I was doing some breath work today, and I could feel the inhales go all the way into the bottom of my lungs, and then when I exhaled, I would press it out of my feet. And I was sitting when I was doing it, and it's just how good it feels just to breathe and just be in your body, which is interesting in New York because we're all just I don't even know where my body is. I just know I gotta be over there.
Yeah, and all of the air quality and everything else that goes along with that, with big cities anywhere really. But so maybe you can actually, I don't know if you've ever heard this before or not. I've actually said this a couple of times because I heard it somewhere and I thought it was interesting, so I do it from time to time, and I know there's no science or whatever behind it, but whenever I've got maybe an issue, or I'm stretching, or I've had an injury, or just something's up, right, with my body physically, I try to breathe to that spot. And then breathe out. And I know the air, it's not going to that spot. If I've got a problem in my hip, I'm not breathing into my hip. But for some reason, and I don't know if it's placebo with me or not, but it seems to help relieve the tension in that area.
Well, I think just where your focus goes, your energy follows. I think it's really just that simple, because you've allowed yourself to mentally go there, and our thoughts are just as powerful as what we put in our body. And same way, the breathing stuff. And I think yes, they say there's not a science to it, but just being how powerful our minds can be, which is why I say, you create your reality. Whatever you want, whatever narrative that you want to stay in, you'll stay in. Whatever reality that you want to create, you'll create. But I think having just the ability and noticing that it's acknowledging that a part of your body needs some kind of love and tenderness and nurture. Whether it, and that can go in a lot of different ways, but you're pausing to at least slow down and hold space for that place. And I do the same thing. Like and again, whether it's a placebo or not, it's something to believe in that is nurturing and calming to your body. And it seems like it works. like I don't sit there and I'm like, I'm just gonna breathe into my hips and then my hips hurt. Like that never happens to me.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, it's funny, like bringing up the placebo thing and that part and the breath work. And I don't mean to like throw it totally off kilter, but I thought about this when you say it doesn't matter if it's placebo, because it really doesn't. In my eyes, it really doesn't matter. If it works, it works. So your mind's a very powerful thing. And like, I don't believe in any of the astrology stuff. It just doesn't hit me. My wife is into it. And
can we get her in here? Can we get
she even has a cup.
And she'll know exactly what it is.
She even has a coffee cup she drinks out of that says Pisces on it. It has the symbol and everything. I could not tell you what I am, and she's told me 100 times. I can't even tell you what my symbol is. Somebody posted something on social media the other day, and I just thought it was a funny comment because I posted back. I go, I don't know what sign this is, but I'll tell you when I'm 4 steps ahead of you, out loud. It was just a post he made. He was saying this sign does this secretly. I'm 3 steps ahead of you, and I'm like, I don't know what that is, but I'm 4 steps ahead of you, and I'll tell you to your face. But
that could be true given your sign.
But I also, as silly as I may think it is, or the theory or whatever, I also don't discourage people or make fun of them so much, because I think that placebo and finding something to believe in is real. So like if they believe in it and it helps them out, like if it's a good message of the day, like for instance, I signed up for this email from the universe, right? Every single morning I get an email from the universe and it has a message, and you fill out the information, and it's a human or a generated response coming to me. It's not the universe that's sending me this email, but it's a fantastic way to start my day out. You know, it's a unique way of looking at life, and maybe something that'll spark something creatively in my head that helps me out. And so that's why I do that and subject myself to that.
Sure. No, and I agree with that. And I have these conversations. I actually had one yesterday, and I had one a couple months ago. But and to your point, like, okay, so astrology, you know, people look at it that it's just a pseudoscience, which I hear you. Like, I hear what you're saying, but it's really just a precursor to astronomy when we would look up at the stars and try to make sense of all these things. You know, what's going on with the planets, and then things kind of move in patterns, and we see that in our lives. We see that in the shifts. We see that over the course of history. Like, that is consistent. Like, and you can look at that, and that is something tangible that you can give somebody in the same way that you can follow the planets in that way. And, you know, astrology is... I love it. I try not to use it as a crutch. Like, it's not a crutch, but it's a tool that you can use to help yourself understand who you are on a deeper level, like what your wants, your desires, how you communicate, how you love, and even to, and you can use it for in a universal sense of like, all right, well, what's kind of coming next? And again, you try not to rely on it too much, but you know, so a couple of months ago, I was in Joshua Tree, and I did a mushroom trip with 2 of my girlfriends.
Oh my gosh. I don't necessarily want to do the mushroom part of it, but going to Joshua Tree sounds awesome to me.
I mean, do one or the other. I combine them if you're ready, but like it was, I mean, that place alone, and I've always been pulled to the water. I love the ocean. I love the beaches. I love free diving, scuba diving, surfing, all of that stuff is stunning. It looked like Salvador Dali's playground. That's what I felt like it was.
That's awesome.
And but we did it mushroom. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was just like you just don't see it. And then parts of, you know, at times I was on mushrooms, but there was. So I was like, am I a Salvador Dali's playground? Like, where am I really? You things correctly, but it was a microdose. But so we were talking about it on the way home, right? And I put a lot of trust into the universe, and try not to do too much trust that like you just stay at home and don't do anything, but really paying attention to the signs. And I've always been pulled to the planets and the moon, and I even got a tattoo on my arm, percent of our brain. And then the rest of the cosmos is maybe pulling us in one direction or another. There are all these other things that are going on. But at the end of the day, there's so much beyond our psyche and beyond our comprehension. And to your point of like placebo, it's something to believe in that gives me a little more faith and hope in humanity, and that things are just going to work out the way they are supposed to. And when I tell people that, like, all right, so you can believe that this is all love, and you can believe that, maybe we're here for a purpose, and maybe we're just, and ultimately I think we really just want love and connection. Like, that's kind of why we're here. And like, how is the alternative serving you? Like, if you move from a space of like hate, and you're always discerning and you're critical, like, how is that going to help anyone or anything?
Yeah, like, I mean, without any of that, you'd be like sad, right? I mean, it'd be kind of a sad existence without anything of that nature, without anything to believe in or anything to follow or anything to do. It would be kind of. But you said something important. I think I hear a lot of people with the astrology part. My wife is not one of these. She does not use it as a crutch. She thinks it's fun and she follows it and the characteristics or whatever. But using it as a crutch, like, oh, I'm acting this way because I am this symbol, and that's okay. That sort of thing. Like, I hear people and see people do it all the time, and using that part as the crutch is the bad part.
I agree. And it's the same thing of understanding that I read these things sometimes, and it's like, hey, sorry, I couldn't show up for you. It's because when I was 12 years old, my girlfriend cheated on me, and now I don't know how to like be in a relationship. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, you cannot continue to blame your traumas on your behavior, because that's not okay. In the same way that like you can associate with this astrology sign and that excuses this behavior. No, you cannot associate with, and these things are real, right? So like your feelings are facts, and it's important to deal with those things. But as you continue to use your past and not take responsibility or be held accountable for your actions, you just then you just end up floating, right? And then that's hard to get yourself to where you want to go, right? And then you just you leave too much trust into what you think things are supposed to be, that you forget to take action and forget that you are in complete control of your life. These are just things that will help you understand maybe why you make the choices that you do, which is what I do with the coaching too. So like, here's something that you do. Let's figure out why you do that. Let's try to figure out how we can not do that, because that is only getting you to so far when you want to be over here.
Yeah, so it's really and truly figuring out like the personality of the human, like their characteristic, their habits, their traits, how they feel, why they make the decisions, whether it's impulse or whether they're thinking too much. Whatever it may be, you're figuring out where their faults are, in that, like, basically a sounding board off of them with some education, and mapping out a pathway to help them find better habits to improve their life.
Yeah, and I just hold space, and I ask questions, and I encourage them just to go deeper and to drop into what is really going on, because I can only take them. I'm just here to guide you. But ultimately, I think that we kind of know, if we sit with ourselves long enough, we can hold space for ourselves to understand maybe why we're making the choices that we are.
Well, I mean, and before people think it's like real silly, like, why call somebody or why reach out to somebody such as yourself? Because if you're just going to ask questions and just, you can't change anything in my life, why should I go do that? If I can do it myself, why am I just not doing it myself? Well, it's because in everything, and this is one of the things that athletics taught me growing up, and having a dad that played Division I sports, is you have to have a coach. It doesn't matter how good you are. Like, you may be super talented and the coach doesn't have any talent, but you need him because he's an outside set of eyes looking in on something objectively, and he has the knowledge to help you get where you want to go.
Yeah, and it's in the same space of like, it's when you're emotionally in something that you feel is kind of consuming you, it's too close. It's too close for you to step outside yourself and assess things from a different perception, a different reality space. So you have somebody that has either probably been through that, like you were saying, and that can help kind of guide you through it without telling you what to do. And I think I think it's just so important to have a coach that has they just hold space for you and creating a framework for you to live a life that you want to live. And a lot of questions I have perceptions, every story, there's like what person A said and person B said, and then there's what actually happened. Because what actually happened doesn't take on any emotions or feelings. It's just the reality of it. But when we can be caught up in how our heart is feeling and our where our head goes, it's too close to figure it out. So you have somebody that just helps guide you through it. And it goes back to I think we all just want love and connection. So finding somebody that sees you, that can sit with you, that understands you, makes you feel less alone. I think they're even saying right now that loneliness is, a higher cause of death than like stroke and cancer and heart failure.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, they even say that, I told you I was teaching a bunch of safety courses on stuff. The driving portion of it, the psychology behind why we drive in packs, why we drive in clusters, is because human beings are, we need others. We need people around us, like surrounding us. We want to be around. We're social beings. And that's the way we want to survive. Kind of like wolves. We want to be in a pack, and we need to be in that pack. Otherwise, we're not in our natural place, the things that make us happy. So even down to things like subconsciously what we do, like driving, it makes perfect sense. We just want to be around people. We don't want to be lonely.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
nobody wants to be lonely.
What got you into all this stuff?
Deep-seated, rooted development, probably. I think I've always asked a lot of questions, and I've always been concerned. For a while, I was concerned with what I was going to do with my life and what my purpose was, and I put a lot of emphasis on it to a point where it kind of drove me crazy a little bit, or it made me feel a little alone in some spaces. But I think I was probably 14 when I started to ask questions like, what am I going to do when I get older? What am I going to do with the rest? One part of it. So I've always explored Ayurvedic medicine and just trying to, and maybe I was actually just feeling, maybe I was feeling lonely. I think I felt alone. And then I was searching for a form of connection that wasn't readily available. So I started to kind of drop in on myself and go outwardly. And when I was about 16, my brother was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and that was pretty hard. That was very difficult. It was a challenging time to be in a family of 4 that then felt like, as much as my parents loved me, they were there for me, they were amazing, but a lot of their focus and attention went to my brother, who was 12, and it was kind of left on my own to grow up. So I grew up very fast at 16. And I think it's just, maybe in some ways I was always just searching. I was never being, and there were a lot of other experiences that life that kind of brought me here and there, and then now I'm in New York coaching on it.
So, what happened to you? Did your brother make it through that? It kind of cut out a little there, but did your brother make it through? What happened with that part?
Yeah, he did. He made it through. He's married. No, he's good, but it's that's all great. And I think I feel that those who have experienced life in a certain way, and then even through certain, then go back and help others heal. And that's also ultimately what I offer. I just there's been trying to be my own walking testimonial as I continue to help others through healing their relationship with themselves, so they feel like they're at home and they can learn to trust themselves and be so in love with themselves that they realize that they can give themselves everything that they want and they need, including the connection. And then you understand the connection and the love. I think it's a big part of it too.
Yeah, no, it does. It makes perfect sense. And the reason I asked that is because I lost one of my best friends in the whole world. He had just turned 40, or right about to turn 40. I think he was 40. Right there. He was right on that boat. It was right before his birthday. And he had these crazy brain tumors. This guy was in he didn't drink, he didn't smoke. He was fit. He was running one day and just passed out. And then they found out he had this massive tumor, and it was within a year he had something like 5 different tumors. They took it out, fixed it. He got another one, rapid growing, really fast, and then finally the last one he passed away from. So it was it was just like, it was a crazy experience being around that and being around his family so much that you can see the toll that it takes on not just the person, but the family that has to, supply help to them, and like the pain and suffering they go through just watching their sibling or their child or whatever it is go through something traumatic like that. So as a kid, it would be like, these were all grown adults, all the kids were on their own and grown up, and you're just a kid. So I imagine that takes an even further toll on you.
I think I lost you in the last part.
Oh, okay. I was saying it takes a little further toll on you as far as like being a kid, because the people I was around they were all grown up, having to deal with this, and you were just, you're like, what were you, 14 you said?
16 years old.
Yeah, 16. Okay, so like you're in a very critical stage, especially for a female, like very critical stage in life, and then that all that stuff happens. So that's kind of a tough thing to find your path through.
It is, and then I developed a very unhealthy relationship with myself, and I looked for a lot of outward validation because I wasn't getting it from maybe a source that I thought was always going to be available, and I entered some pretty unhealthy. And I think that the relationship that you set with yourself then sets the tone, the relationship you have with everything else. So my relationship with food got really severe. I was in a few unhealthy relationships with men. I had this kind of intense relationship with physical activity. But then I realized that like it's just kind of coming back to yourself. But to your point, it was hard because it was I saw how much it destroyed my parents and how much guilt that they took on from wanting to protect somebody that they love so much. And when I observed their pain and I felt their sorrow, I felt like I couldn't be like that. I had to be strong, and I had to keep my head up, and I had to, I wasn't going to cry, and I wasn't going to feel anything. And I think in a lot of ways, I really strengthened my masculine energy, but I forgot about my feminine energy. But you kind of sit with that, and you see how something is just wrecking somebody else's life, and to try to keep it together for everyone else. And that got exhausting. So then I kind of ran away to Michigan a couple years later, and I worked on a camp. But I didn't run away necessarily, but I did. It got too much. But you see, and I think even in these moments of in grief is probably what you were feeling with your friends, and seeing that. But in the grief, just the act of thinking that things are going to be a type of way, or things are going to go a type of way. And then you grieve over the loss of a vision that you had, or a future that you thought was going to be, something that you were going to be involved in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all these things kind of tie together to what you're doing. So like the experience that you had, and it was running away to Michigan, whether it was like running away, it wasn't like a runaway like people think of, but you're running away from all of those thoughts and having to deal with any of those emotions and figuring things out. You're just getting out of there. Like, I just need a change. I need something different. I'm going to run away from that. And in that sense. But all of these experiences from 16 on, from this stuff, figuring them out and how to express them and see them in others, I mean, it's a super important thing and a talent to be able to do, and something super helpful, I would think, for people to be able to share it and to pay that forward, towards, whatever you found that works, to pay that forward to help other people, maybe have a faster track to it.
I mean, I've said this out loud, like, for people, like, I feel you and I feel for you, but it doesn't matter where you go, your shit's going to follow you. It's still going to be there. Like, it's not going anywhere. You can run all you want. You're just going to run yourself around the world. But I do. I feel like my family has a long history. A lot of my extended family has a history of being of service, whether they were involved in the church, or they were like probation officers or counselors, or they've always kind of done that. And I think ultimately I feel that they're not alone in this, because when you do, when things don't maybe go away that you're proud of, there's a shame wrapped around it. and then we don't talk about it, and then we suppress it, and then it sits with us, and it manifests in our body, it manifests in our relationships, it manifests in our self-esteem, it manifests in the way that we eat and breathe and sleep and communicate. And that's not a way to live, I think. And when the alternative could be like love and abundance and like butterflies and all that stuff. But it's really just trying to help people feel that there is a way out, and it doesn't have to be this way forever. You don't have to do just one step at a time. You can alter your reality, and you can change your narrative.
Ooh, changing your narrative. You've said a couple of those things in there that I've picked that I really like, because and it's you 100% like, just, it's your choice. Like, it's your choice to change where you go, what you're doing, and how you're doing. You do have a choice to change that. It's not like a set outcome that you've got there. And then, like you said, changing the narrative, that all comes down to you. And you've also talked about accountability. Those are like three things right there that I totally am on board. I try to check myself all the time, but I think it's lacking in a lot of the problems. And if you can help somebody become accountable without slapping it in their face, because it's kind of, they get offended by it.
Yeah, and they do. Like, we're all sensitive. Like, we're all just, I feel like we're all just like 15 years old.
Oh, I'm 12. I guarantee it.
My friend says that she's like, no, we're all 4. And I was like, no, you have to include the sex drive. Like, we're 15.
Yeah. Yeah. The problem is I still act like that sometimes. It's like, oh, geez. There you go. All my kids' friends ask, like, does your dad really Yes, he does. He acts like that all the time.
That's okay. I mean, that's part of like the ownership or taking responsibility. And that's what I try to give people. It's like, okay, so I see you. I have compassion for you. I got this. I know what you're going through. But at the end of the day, this is your life. And this is your responsibility. And this is everything that you choose for it to be. But now you have tools, because you've understood a little bit more about who you are. You understand a little bit. You've maybe relived some traumatic experiences, or you've been able to understand why you are the way that you are, why you live life or make the choices that you do. But there is so much power in ownership that when somebody can say something, you can be like, yeah, no, I did that. Whether it's in, a positive or a negative light. Like, I don't think that there's right or wrong or good or bad. It's just what it is. But there's a lot of life and excitement in taking responsibility for your mental health, for your physical health, for your emotional health, your relationships. And that's where I think people forget about. Like, sometimes I think it's very simple, but we like to overcomplicate it because we have these emotions or we have these excuses. We have all these things that are like, I hear you, but your life is your responsibility. And you have choices, and you have a lot of resources to change the narrative, or you can stay in it.
No, like you can message you, right?
You can
just reach out.
You can do it by yourself, and you reach out and you find a coach, because you don't have to go through the work alone. And I think that's when, had I not had all the support that I had through my coaches and my guides, I don't know what would have happened.
So you got coaches yourself, like you've actually sought out help and done the same exact thing of what you're doing right now.
Mm-hmm. The only thing that I didn't do was go to therapy. I never went to therapy, and I never took medication.
The never taking medication part is awesome. There's a big, I am not, like, some people need it, and those people really do need that medication, but there's so many people that just get on them because they think a pill's going to fix it, and that shortcut. That no accountability. Like, no, you're sad for a reason.
I see. Yeah.
You're depressed for a reason. Let's figure out why you're depressed, not give you a pill to try to make you not depressed. Because that doesn't, it's like a pain pill. All it does, it doesn't take away that you have a cut on your leg. It just tells your mind that it just shuts off that nerve for a second. It tells your mind that you're not hurting at the moment, right? Mm-hmm. So if you left that wound didn't fix it, you just left it open, it would become infected over time, right? And get worse and worse. where you could lose a limb, whatever. But it's the same thing with mental health. There's no difference between that thing. You just give it the pill. You're bypassing the reason and not fixing the problem.
Yeah, and you're just it's easy. Like, we all want a quick fix, and like that has been proven over time. Like, whether it's like diet pills, or it's like you're just gonna put on this waistband, or you're just gonna like do this juice cleanse, and we're gonna fix all your problems. But it's like you're not addressing the root of it. And I get it. Like, we have a short attention span, and we don't want to do the work, but there's just so much freedom in doing that. And the medication, I don't have a lot of experience with, so I don't know I can't speak to how they actually feel, but it's just that sugar pill that is just going to make things either numb or quiet, but it doesn't make it go away.
What do you think made you not want to take the pills and go to therapy?
Too stubborn. I'm so stubborn. I can be so stubborn. I'm not as bad as I used to be. But I think mental health, and whether you go to therapy or not, it's if we were honest. Like, if we were honest about how we were really feeling, and I think that's maybe I wasn't ready to be honest. I think my mom tried to get me to go when my brother got sick, and I wasn't ready to be honest, and I wasn't ready to own up to how I was really feeling, because I had maybe too much masculine energy, or I felt too brave, or I felt too ashamed of, the self-inflicting pain that I was doing, or how I was acting or behaving. So I think there was some resistance in that, but I ultimately, maybe it just didn't feel like it was the right thing to do. Like, it was almost like maybe I knew better. Maybe I knew better. And that was part of it, but I just felt like there had to be a different way, and that was not going to be how I was going to do it.
Do you feel like that it's like your therapy was going the route that you went and being vulnerable with these coaches and these other people? I mean, you don't have to be a psychologist to go through therapy, really, if you think about it.
Yeah. No, I think had I not, this way helped me heal my mind and my body, and I felt, I trusted the people that I was working with, and I felt like I was really able to open up, and they heard me, and they saw me, and they just allowed me to, they just held space in a way that felt really safe for me.
There's like the most important part, I think, is like making people feel comfortable and safe with it. Mm-hmm. Like, and what's your process for, like, do you know how exactly they do that, or do you just get a read off of it from the human being?
I get a read from it. I get a read from it, and then you can look at actually other tangible things too, but I do believe in energy, and some people say that time is all that matters, and I think energy is really all that matters. We have only so much energy to give and to receive. But I think it's the same way that you can walk up to somebody and you can tell if like they're genuine or they have a good vibe to them, which again feels intangible. So then you use other things like, is this person consistent? Is this person how does this person communicate? How do I feel when I communicate with this person? And we talk about like intuition sometimes, not I and some other people perhaps. Intuition is almost a muscle that you can strengthen. And learning to pay attention to that and how you feel when you make a decision or a choice can take you either towards something that's going to bring abundance or towards something that's going to bring chaos.
Oh, this is just getting like, I know I'm actually going to have to run because I've got to go pick up kids at school and whatnot, and we've had these delays. But I definitely, if you want to do another podcast, I definitely want to do another one with you, because this is just like touching the ice, like the surface on all these issues. That is a fun conversation for me, whether it be like me questioning it or like having different routes or whatever. Like I really like it. I really enjoy it. I dig what you're doing a lot.
Thank you.
Not really knowing much about what you were doing before I even made this call, it like finding out about it and then hearing the actual process and stuff, it really it interests me. It's crazy. I really like it. I like your philosophy and the way you look at it. It's really cool. But tell real quick, before we try to get a second podcast in or anything like that, tell everybody where they can find you, how to contact you if they want to look more into this or ask you some questions, what the best route is to get a hold of you.
I guess you can find me on the interwebs. I am on Instagram at Elaine in the City. My website is elainemoen.com. You can reach out to me there. I am doing the rewrites for my website this weekend, so there'll be some changes to that, whether you jump on it when you do or later. I think mostly, thank you. I would love to do that again too, because I feel like we're just like scratching the surface, where there's just like so much, but maybe we'll leave people in a place where they at least. I just want to encourage you to think a little bit more and discover and drop in. So maybe at least we've left them with that.
Oh yeah, no, it really is awesome. I just wish we had more time to dive deeper into it and get everything out. And I mean, we're already 40 minutes in still, but it just like, I think there's more left to discuss and go over and everything like that. So if you're down, we'll do it. Everybody go check out Elaine's stuff. I'll put it in the show notes, so if you're curious, you can just go click on it. It'll be fine. All the information will be there. And Elaine, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. This was amazing. I had a great time.
Oh, I'm glad. I always get nervous.
I look forward to part 2.
Oh, yes. I always get nervous that I was like, I hope they liked I hope they came off the way they wanted to, you know? But it's always a blast for me. So thanks again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.